When you're looking at a UPS for a small server rack or a serious workstation, the decision often feels like a gamble. You've got a mountain of specs on the page, but what really matters is whether the unit will keep your critical equipment online long enough to avoid data loss, and whether the extra features actually make life easier or just add cost. The Eaton 9PX 2000VA 1800W at 120V tries to strike that balance with a double conversion design, a built-in network card, and modular battery options. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. In the next few minutes I'll walk through the practical side of owning one of these, pointing out where the value shows up and where you might be paying for features you'll never use. First, let's talk about the core promise, providing enough runtime to let you save work and shut down gracefully when the grid fails. The 9PX is rated for 2000VA, which translates to roughly 1800W of usable power. In everyday terms, that means you can comfortably protect a mid-range workstation, a small network switch, or a couple of NAS drives. In my own setup, I've got a dual CPU workstation pulling about 550W, a 24-port gigabit switch at 60W, and an external backup drive that peaks around 120W. The UPS's calculator shows I'd get somewhere between 5 and 8 minutes of runtime on the standard battery, enough to finish a document or kick off an automated backup before the unit's power down. That's the sweet spot for most home office and small business users. You're not looking for hours of backup, just a buffer to prevent abrupt shutdowns. What sets the 9PX apart from a lot of entry-level units is the online double conversion topology. Unlike line interactive models that switch to battery only when the voltage dips, a double conversion UPS continuously conditions the power. This means you get clean, regulated sine wave output even if your utility power is noisy. If you work with sensitive equipment like high-end audio interfaces or scientific instruments, that constant regulation can reduce the risk of subtle errors that only show up after a power glitch. For a typical office workstation, the benefit is less noticeable, but the peace of mind that the output never deviates from the set voltage can be reassuring. A feature many reviewers overlook is the split NEMA outlets. The 9PX gives you 3 banks of outlets, 2 groups of 520p receptacles and one L520R lockable outlet, each on its own switched bank. In practice, this lets you assign critical load, say your server, to one bank that stays online as long as the battery has capacity, while less critical devices like a monitor or a printer sit on a bank you can power down manually if you need to extend runtime. That level of granularity is handy when you're trying to squeeze the most minutes out of a limited battery pack. The downside: the labeling on the front panel isn't as intuitive as you might hope, so you'll need to spend a few minutes mapping which devices go where before a power event hits. Remote management is another area where Eaton tries to stand out. The unit ships with a network M2 gigabit card, giving you full access to the UPS via a web interface or SNMP. In a single rack office, this means you can monitor voltage, battery health, and load percentage from your laptop or phone without pulling the front panel off the rack. If you're already running a monitoring platform like PRTG or SolarWinds, integrating the UPS is a matter of adding its IP address and a community string. The real test is whether the remote UI is clear enough for quick troubleshooting. In my experience, it's clean and responsive, showing real-time load per outlet bank and battery capacity, but the configuration menus can be a bit dense if you're not familiar with network-enabled UPS settings. It's a solid tool for administrators, but a casual user who just wants a plug-and-play device might never tap into that capability. Battery extensibility is a selling point that can be both a benefit and a hidden cost. Eaton offers optional extended battery modules that stack onto the back of the UPS, effectively turning a 5-minute run into an hour or more, depending on how many you add. The modular design makes sense for growing businesses. Start with the base battery and add more later when the load increases. However, those extra modules are not cheap, and you need to plan for the additional space in your rack. If you're a small office that will never exceed the base runtime, buying the optional batteries up front is wasteful money. On the flip side, for a small data center that anticipates adding more servers, the ability to expand without replacing the whole unit is a real cost saver. Who should consider the Eaton 9PX 2000VA? If you run a single rack or a compact tower setup with critical equipment that can't tolerate abrupt power loss, think small servers, network gear, high-performance workstations, or medical imaging devices. This UPS ticks the right boxes. The double conversion design, split outlet banks, and remote management give you control and reliability that entry-level units simply don't provide. It also